Bonjour à tous. Qu'est-ce qu'il fait? Hello, hello. This is me again with another replay of another very, very fun and engaging ship and great addition to the game of World of Warships. I have acquired an interesting replay in Incomparable. The so-called gimmick stick. Ship looks hilariously ugly. Ship looks like a, I don't know, floating fish stick in the water with a million gimmicks slapped onto it, including stuff like concealment and guns. So the entire thing is just a, I don't know, box of surprises floating in the water and you don't know what it's gonna do. So, yeah, Incomparable. What's the biggest problem with it? I mean, it's a battleship with 10.6 km concealment and it overmatches 32 millimeters. So, kind of an interesting combination there. It seems like Wargaming is smoking more and more weed, or is even going further and like consuming other drugs. But yeah, otherwise I couldn't explain myself those ships. So essentially, you have a battleship that is as accurate as Thunderer. It's like the main or the base dispersion or sigma value is that of Thunderer, I think. But on the other side, it overmatches pretty much every cruiser armor, unless you're playing like Napoli or Russians. And it has better concealment than pretty much every cruiser. There are a few light cruisers that outspot it, barely. I think Minnow is the best one. Stuff like Smolly already has a hard time outspotting it. Stuff like Napoli has the same conceal. Everything else is essentially getting outspotted by that battleship. I mean, we're talking about Des Moines here, talking about Moskva, Stalin, Goliath, what else is there? Henri, obviously, Venezia. Everything gets outspotted by that ship, but also overmatched. Complete horrendous horse shit mechanic. But okay, whatever. So, what's the other gimmicks? I mean, the ship gets torps, 4 on each side, single launchable. They don't really like matter that much overall, but if you go or if you get into rushing situations, they obviously help out, since you can first of all single launch them, which means you can pretty much hit all 4. And also on top of that, they have very, very good angles towards the front, so you can send them pretty early. The ship is labeled as very squishy by Wargaming, which is tremendous amount of horse shit. The ship itself has over 100mm side plating and like 50mm deck plating, so you can definitely bounce people upper belt and deck, which is ridiculous since there's ships like the French and other British BBs in the game which have like 32mm overall, so the ship isn't squishy at all. The only thing that really gets hurt is your like small little nose and ass, since they're both 25mm, but then again it's very rare to hit a massive amount of shells on those small parts of the ship. You can just shrug off incoming fire from enemy battleships better than they can do, since you pretty much mostly overmatch most of their like ship parts and stuff. So yeah, it's kind of not as squishy as they would like, would have maybe liked it to be. Thing is, the thing definitely explodes when giving broadside. Not necessarily. You can get trolled heavily against that ship if it shows broadside, and you might end up with overpens, for example. Happens. Since it's also so low in the water and has like a weird armor model in general. But yeah, if you give it extended amounts of broadside, you're dead pretty soon. Like, it also eats citadels from cruisers at range. I think Des Moines starts at 8 km, 9 km sitting it. Moskva Stalin can pretty much sit it all the time. Petro can sit it. Yeah, so even cruisers can punish it. Then again, with this kind of concealment, it's also something that like Bison and pretty much everyone else pretty much said the same thing. You are vulnerable on the broadside. Then again, you never have to show broadside if you don't want to in turns. I mean, it turns like a carrier. Turning circle is complete ass. Or you can work around it completely. Like, it's not really a weakness, is it, on a battleship with 10.6 km conceal? I mean, honestly, 10.6, that's literally cruiser conceal, better than most cruiser conceal. So, I mean, you can just go dark in cruisers, can you? So you can probably do the same in a battleship. Wargaming probably doesn't know how to play cruisers, so they don't understand what 10-6 concealment on a battleship allows you to. You're not nerfing it by giving it a shit turning circle, honestly. Whatever. Happens. So what are the other gimmicks? It gets Hydro. It's only the shitty British one, so if Torps, or if the DD catches you kind of broadside, you will most likely eat the Torps, specifically Haaland Torps you can't really dodge. Then again, Haaland Torps do literally 0 damage. It gets a super heal, so it will pretty much never die to HE spam. It synergizes insanely well with Cunningham again. You would think, well, it only has 3 heals. Yeah, but you can pretty much go 1.5, 1.8 average frag, so pretty much 2 out of 3 games you're gonna proc Cunningham and get a 4th heal. Most likely you don't even need it. It's spotter plane, so you get a bit more range. I like to play it with reload mod, but I'm going to show the captain later on. So essentially, now comes the next problem. Like, maybe we should talk about the combination there. By the way, this is the scenario where Evo smashed his monitor, because he went to the Rock in 2022 with a Des Moines. I held the flank. Tratos was also on the flank, so the flank was kind of clear, but there were like 3 people in front of him. There was there were like 2 DDs. Yeah, there's the Nustra. There's the submarine that's perma-spotting him while he can't spot it back. Like the moment the submarine goes on periscope depth, he can't spot it anymore, so the submarine just sits there, torps him, pings him, and spots him. Salem was shooting him. Yeah, so he was kind of triggered, but understandable. Honestly, cruises versus subs is hilarious. Also, some BBs versus subs is complete horse shit. Oh, we can talk about this for ages. It won't change the fact that Wargaming punches the shit into the game, even though it's hella toxic. I already procced Cunningham, so I'm not worried about my heal capacity. Most likely you won't ever get full heal capacity out of all those heals, since they're mega heals, but you only have like 70k health. But in general, I'm not worried about my HP at this point. Matchmaking was kind of good in this game. It was like mostly tier 8 and 9, some tier 10s. Their 2 tier 10 BBs were completely dent and kill themselves. But yeah, the game is also going to have a Cyclone, which is hitting now, which is hilariously good for incomp. The thing is, which I wanted to talk about, you have the concealment, you have the overmatch, and you have the stupid speed. You have a speed boost on top of all of things, and there is something called Brisk in the games. That just tells the story that Wargaming is actually not playing their own game, because you can't implement a skill like Brisk, or maybe they should limit Brisk to certain BBs. You can't implement Brisk and then release a battleship like Incomp. It's horseshit. It's fucking retarded, bro. The ship legit gets a 10% speed buff whenever it wants. And battleships, I remember playing the game in like 2016, when it started, or 2017, battleships were actually balanced around the fact they're way slower than cruisers and DDs. At the moment we're in a stage where we have like 3 BBs in the game that are way faster than most cruisers, and even some DDs. You have Borg, which is 43, we have Georgia, which is 43, and then you have shit like Incomp, which is barely above 40, but still bad enough. It's like, how does this happen? You can reach more than 30 knots with stuff like Amado. I mean, that's okay. I mean, okay, interesting skill. Maybe 2 points is too little. Also, Yamato has 14k conceal. But why the fuck does a ship like Incomp get to pick it? It's hilariously dented. The ship is faster in the flank than any other ship, especially than any other cruiser pretty much, while you outspot them. Also here we have the funny interaction with the submarine. I mean, it's a tier 8 sub and just fucking sits there and turns around, and he doesn't misplay, we never see him again, so I don't know, man. Yeah, but in general, if you know where the enemy is and a Cyclone hits, Incomparable becomes probably one of the most retarded ships ever. Like, the German battleships really like those storms, since they can't get SID and they get into brawling situations without losing HP. Secondary battleships in general probably, but mostly like Schlieffen, GK, Preußen, love it. And Incomp is probably one of the bigger winners in a Cyclone as well, definitely up there. Being like hilariously hard to deal with because it can switch position unspotted. In Cyclone you're never spotted, so you just pretty much get the 10% speed until you run into an enemy, which is fine, right? It's like, I guess it's fine. Yeah, so essentially you can beat a cruiser to a flank, some DD in your division or random DD, whatever spots it, or you outspot it yourself, and you straight up probably get the first shot on the broadside. And then you have very accurate guns with 19.5 or 19k alpha on a SID, which is like straight up 20k. So if you get 2 SIDs on an unfortunate cruiser on the flank, his game is pretty fucked. Like, unless it's like a Moskva, and even a Moskva is like 40k on him. So they're not gonna do much. Now here we have little Nustra being a bit monkey. Then look at the damage I'm doing to submarines and DDs as well. And you only have 6 shells, but because of the dispersion, that's fairly good. If you manage to hit 5 or 10 shells from an income, it's 10 to 12k on a DD. I mean, okay, guess that's fine. I don't know. I mean, shit's legit a gimmick stick. I mean, there's, I guess, no doubt about that. Reload is also hilariously retarded. I play reload mod. I think it's debatable between range and reload. Range mod definitely gives, since you're limited with 17.6, range mod is definitely nice to have, and it also improves or buffs your vertical dispersion a bit. So I guess it's 50-50 on what you take. But having the straight up 32mm overmatch guns and better DPM on them, like minus, what is it, 14, 12, 14% on the reload mod, or even 16? No, it's not 16, it's 12 I think, whatever. It's fairly retarded. I mean, look at this ship, just look at this ugly ass fucking floating turd, and then imagine in a nose fight against the Yamato, you're actually better off than another Yamato. Like, he can't cheek you, he can't citadel you through the nose, pretty much. You have, like, protected side plating on the nose, kind of like an icebreaker. So you're probably never gonna get sit there. And, yeah. So, what do we have here? We have mid game, we have mid. I'm pretty much waited on the rock and not risking anything until the Cyclone fully hits. And now I'm trying to make my move on the top people, like the Riga, the Marlboro, and the Smolly. I'm pretty... like, I'm a bit scared that the Salem just sits there on my left, because he can definitely sit me at that range, like below 8 km. But luckily the Salem just completely fucked off. Smolly luckily has very little HP, so I don't have to get massive amounts of hits and citadels. But then again, we all know Wargaming, let's go, watch it, 6 km, flap broadside, I get a sit, GG, like fucking Wargaming, man, honestly. If that fucking ship, if it's not the kill shot, it's probably not a sit. I have no clue. I mean, obviously, I think so League of Legends has a mechanic or certain abilities or mechanics, since they are supposed to be insta kill or they are supposed to finish off targets. They have like a set amount of incredible damage. Like they do 1,000,000 true damage, and then it's 100% certain the enemy dies in this situation. And I kind of get the feeling that Wargaming implemented the same shit. That since you hit like the main section and there could be like tick issues with the heal or something, it doesn't subtract only the amount of health you have, so it always goes I have the feeling, it's just a feeling, I don't know if it's true, it just feels like that, that you always get the sit, so it's like citadel true damage on the middle and the ship is fucking dead. Kind of could be like it, could not. So here you can see the ultimate fucking retardation of the ship. You stay anchored to the Riga, you know you have torps on the right side ready. You can overmatch the ass of those battleships, so it's like there's a citadel on another battleship, easy. And now I pop the heal, pre-pop the heal, not that he like 6 hits me. He doesn't get sits here, but I get fucking torps, so GG. Have fun. Gimmick stick activated, 2 people dead, GG. It could have been pretty much anything there. Any cruiser. As long as he doesn't have torps, that move is pretty much for free. Like, I don't think even a Petro would have smashed me for all my HP there, so yeah. So, I'm dark again, because I killed the people, obviously. So, I get brisk again, I can turn around, I still have speed boost up. Note though that the ship loses an insane amount of speed while turning. So, the 40 knots are only really available when you go heavy straight line. So you set your course at the beginning to the flank in an opportunistic angle, or a good angle, and then you just brisk into the flank. Don't try to change course if you're like if you know that you're unspotted. Interestingly enough, the ship sucks against carriers. I mean, the air detect is 9-9 while your surface is 10-6. Well done, Wargaming. I think we're balancing ships around other broken classes now, which is cool. So you can't really make use of your concealment or brisk that much if there's a carrier in the game. That kind of sucks, so you always hope for non-carrier games in incomp, otherwise you're just like a normal BB that pretty much has like less guns and less range, so it's pretty hard to make do. Also, you saw in the beginning, if you're once in kite on the 9-10, there's not much you can do. You have to stay there. You have to stay in kite. You have to go dark, first of all, to turn even, and then it takes ages for your ship to turn. So obviously I fought the Vermont, and only after he was dead I turned around. Wouldn't have changed the outcome of Evo though, because if I leave 9-10 early, the Vermont just gets his ass probably. But yeah. So here we know that the Salem is probably going in towards B. Oh, the key unfortunately gets spotted by whoever the fuck. Yeah, my plane, I think. Yeah, they both get spotted by my plane. And here you can see, like, this is an interesting situation. You either go in, nose in, but then you run the risk of getting rammed by either of the turrets, and I don't have enough HP anymore to take the rams. So I decide to go into kite. I get maybe the key front turrets on me, and one salvo of the Salem front turrets flat broad, but otherwise I should be fine and already angled. Where they both whiff, one has HE loaded. Here I get heavy trolled by my RNG. I get 3 pens for 18k, which is already ridiculous. But yeah. That key is hilariously sad. I torped for him to go like angled, but he just turns flat broadside. Luckily I hit all the torps anyway. This could have been the... well, yeah. Could have been my kill for 9, but yeah. I have to settle on the Salem here. So essentially I just popped my Mega Heal pre-fighting, so that while I take the damage it already heals. I'm not running the risk of dying. Well, yeah, the Salem is pretty dead here at this point. I could repair the next fire that he gets on me. He's only penetrating my... and whoosh, there we go. They finally get in the third salvo, we get a no-sit. Fairly funny, I guess. So, those are the end screens. I have 206k, 60k. Wasn't like the highest damage ever, but it just showed the potential of this gimmick stick. If you have Cyclone, if you have islands to move around, if the enemy team also has ships that literally have like kind of no counter to you. I mean, every battleship that is 32mm suffers heavy. Every cruiser that doesn't have 50mm or an icebreaker suffers heavy. Like 2 games before that, Evo got death struck by an incomp in the beginning of the match, nose in his Des Moines by 4 shells. I mean, you just have to hit 2 nose sits and pretty much Des Moines or Salem gone. Just fucking gone. Same for like Minnow. It's hilarious. So yeah, we have some depth charges, secondary. I have a million torpedoes. I got 4 torpedoes 2 times. Pretty fun. And then the rest of the achievements, also the division achievements. Scoreboard, you can see it was pretty much against low tier, so it's only 2.57 base. But then again, pretty much all tier 10s scale very well against tier 8s and 9s. But the new the new ships Wargaming is introducing, the new premiums or new steel ships, they're just on another level. Like, they're pretty much already super ships, just in their own right. Like, Incomparable is not straight up more DPM, more armor, more HP, another turret, like we all like it, the extra turret that super ships get now. It's not that kind of ship, but through the gimmicks and the kit you get in terms of concealment and shit, you can just you can get away with the most absurd plays. As I already said, for example, against other 32mm overmatchers or generally other battleships nose in, you're actually kind of favored. I mean, you overmatch them pretty much everywhere. You can pretty much sit smash Yamato, Musashi, Shiki through the nose like nothing, while they actually have a hard time straight up sitting you. Yeah, there you can see it. Did some damage to a lot of ships. Salem took 50k in 3 salvos, nose in. If I'd had gotten a Citadel earlier, he would have died off immediately. The Citadel damage is just absurd. You could think about running, what is it, super heavy AP. I don't know about that though. Gonna quickly start up the game and then go over the captain. What can you say? Anything else you can say about that ship? Well, comparable in terms of skill, incomparable is also kind of like Ragnar for DDs. You might think it's super easy, but then to get the actual value or extract the value out of the ship, you kind of have to have more brain than for other BBs or DDs. Like, Shimmer is straightforward, your Torp, Haaland is straightforward, kind of. Also stuff like Sherman, you just smoke up and farm. Ragnar is a bit of a different treat, so you have to kind of adapt to the playstyle and be a bit smarter, hopefully, and like understand what's the strength. And the same is with incomp. Like, you're not really good at just turning in base and trying to snipe. I mean, your range pretty much already doesn't allow for it. You could only do it with spotter plane, kind of, and range mod combined. It's only for a brief amount of time. And you have to plan your turns and your angles of approach very well with that ship. So yeah, be aware of that. We're going to World of Warships real quick. So where do I have the incomparable? Quick look. There you go. So the other Cunningham procs are interesting, but you will never get Vithera in comp. Like, there's no point in shooting HE in a 32mm overmatch PB pretty much. Especially since you don't have improved gun feeder. If you had improved gun feeder, it's probably worth it, not gonna lie. The speed thing, lightning fast, is kinda ridiculous. If you get really lucky and get 2 floods in the game immediately with income torps, like 1 torp salvo, you hit it on all 4 or 3 torps and to get a flood, you get an instant 5% on top of everything. I mean, I don't know, it's like two knots more on incomp. It's not needed. I have no clue why they make the ship faster and faster. I mean, honestly, it's a bit pointless at this point to leave cruisers and DDs in the dumpster, like the old cruisers and DDs, make fucking new battleships faster than them. So yeah, it's a pretty basic spec. I have it on every BB. On this BB, it makes even more sense than on the others. This is specifically, like, you drop a second 3-pointer, I would say 100% on incomp, and you go for brisk. Just worth too much on that ship. It's legit the strength, the concealment, the speed, and the overmatch combined are an insane gimmick package. And yeah, there were lots of absurd moments against incomps and with my incomps, so yeah. You can pretty much do the same, but you have to have like kind of this spec. Wait, no, we're going to equipment as well. Is there anything special? Well, you have rudder because you can't slot propulsion. That's also something that incomp is kinda fucky, trolly. It accelerates insanely fast just because it already has the prop mod and the British acceleration therefore, and then you have speed boost and brisk on top of it, so the thing goes to 20 knots in like 2 seconds. It's a battleship, I mean, I don't know. Yeah, speed boost mod, it's better than hydro, definitely. Dispersion, I play reload. You could definitely play range. I think reload is just, it's a bit better for my taste. Yeah, concealment and main gun, that's pretty basic. So yeah, horrendously horseshit ship. Fucking hate it. It's retarded and stupid. If you play cruisers and you have competent income players in the enemy team, it's just a tragedy, honestly. Could they nerf this ship? I mean, obviously they should. In my opinion, they should improve, or like they should put the concealment on par with the other BBs on 12 km, 100%. It should not be able to outspot certain cruisers, never. And other than that, I mean, giving it a normal heal is probably too much, because every tomato and potato in this game would instantly get nuked or HE farmed, and you just get one healed all the time. But I think the concealment is the biggest issue at this point. Yeah, so that's probably the angle of approach I would take to nerf it. I have no clue how it performs currently overall on the server. It's also very early to say, since most of the boomers and whales haven't yet farmed enough steel. So we're going to probably see a lot more incomes this year, and especially next what is it, Christmas. In general, I would say the ship is gonna be very rare. Even more rare than Ragnar, I would say, because people are not interested in it. The normal boomer just tries to buy his Shikishima with steel or his Borg, and then go like
like a big reload boost battleship or big overmatch 510mm guns and like Yamato hull and shit like that. I mean, I don't give a fuck. I much rather see Shikis and Borgs honestly than this thing played well. Then again, Borgs are kiting to the map border mostly, so I don't know. But yeah, I don't think we're going to see a lot of them. And I don't think the casual or the average World of Warships player will ever understand how this ship actually works and what are the strengths of it. It's not a straight up damage farmer, and therefore it's probably too complicated for most. Anyways, in my opinion, tragic ship, tragic addition to the game. Wargaming tries to get into every niche of possible gimmick combinations. I don't know what we're going to see next. Maybe like fucking, I mean, they tried it with stun bombs. I mean, there's a lot of shit that could happen now. But yeah. This is it for me. It was the Incomp game. Kind of goes to show how dumb it is. Stay easy. Don't flame too much. Don't be too toxic. Adios, amigos, and see you in the next video.